Welcome to Mrs. K's Way of the Chapter 3 review, where I'm going to be talking about number 5 of the review of percents, rates, and ratios. I hope you are here to be able to talk about problem number 5 right here, which is the table. I first talk about the first 3 problems, and then I talk about the second 3 problems. And so it's going to be a little bit of a long video. You don't have to watch all of it. Just pick whatever you need to. But I will be going in order from left to right. So just try to find the video, the part of the video that you need in order to make this table successful. So we have 6 different problems, but for this page, we're going to talk about the first 3. The first thing we want to do is to be able to get from a fraction to a decimal and then to a percent or any other way in between. It doesn't matter which way as long as it is from one to the other. Now, the 2 things that we want to remind ourselves is that when we are talking about percent, the word per means out of, and cent means 100. So if we want to be able to try to find our fraction right here, we want to be able to try to see what would it be, what number would it be out of 100. So we obviously know that at this point we have an easy fraction where we can convert from fifths to 100ths by multiplying by 20. So we also want to be able to multiply our numerator of 2 by 20, and we would get our 40. So that means that it is 40 out of 100 or per 100. So we can actually go straight from our fraction to our percent by writing that this is 40%. Now, as a decimal, this is saying 40 out of 100 or 40 100ths. We can also write this, if we wanted to, in tenths by going from 5 to 10 by multiplying by 2. Both of these are great ways to be able to get to a decimal because this tells us our place value, either the tenths or the 100ths. So we always want to remind ourselves of any place value. This is our ones place, our tenths place, and our hundredths place. So for this one, since we have 4 in the tenths position, we have nothing in the ones position, so it'll be 0.4 or 0.40. Anytime we have a 0 after the decimal, it doesn't affect that this would still be 4 tenths or 40 hundredths. Now, since we talked about the decimal here, we can now look for the second one, about 48 hundredths. So we can write that for our 48 over 100, because that's 48 in the 100th spot. And since we right now can keep this as a fraction, we'll reduce it in a second. But since right now this is 48 per 100, we also know that this is 48%. That helps us also be able to now talk about the percent. That happens to be 42% or 42 out of 100. 72 out of 100. And that will also tell us our place value of 72 thousandths. We could also reduce 48 100ths, which is equivalent to, if we divide it by 4, 12 25ths. And 72 hundredths we can also reduce down to, also divisible by 4, which would be 18 25ths. Now, these problems get a little trickier because we want to be able to try to find these, but they're not going to go into 100 as easily as our first ones. So we can try to do these in a different way. For 5/8, we could create a ratio table and try to get from 8 to 100. But we can also do this, and let's show you another way. We can actually divide, because right here, this little fraction bar means division. We can divide 5 by 8, and let's do this right here. How many times does my numerator, 5, how many times does my denominator, 8, go into it? So let's divide. I know that 8 doesn't go into 5, so I need to put an X. And then I know I need to add a decimal, add a 0, and bring my decimal up. So 8 goes into 50 6 times. And let me finish the division. So after dividing, I see that 8 goes into 5.625 times. So that right there is actually our decimal. 0 and 625 thousandths. Now, we know that that would be 625 in the thousandths place. So if we wanted to be able to get it into hundredths, we can divide by 10, divide by 10. So my final answer is going to be 62.5 or 62 per 100, which gives us 62.5%. For this one right here, we have a decimal, and because we are looking at our final place value, we know that this would be 120,000, or hundredths, sorry, because this is in the hundredths position. So it'd be 120 over 100. We know that that would be our fraction, 120 over 100, which also would reduce down to our 12 tenths, which is also equal to 1.2 over 1. We can also go back to our fraction down here of 120 per 100, so that is 120%. Last but not least, we have 5%, which is 5 out of 100. I'm able to reduce that down to divided by 5, so I would have 20 or 1/20. I want to keep it in my fraction form up here to tell me 5 in the hundredths position, so that would give me 0.0 tenths and 5 hundredths. And there you go. Here's a picture of Callie before the ice bucket challenge when I was trying to put all the water in the bucket and she decided that she wanted to drink some. So, of course, sweet little puppers, always getting in her little nose into trouble.